Hi everyone, Queeveen here from the comfort of my kitchen. In today's video, we are yet again looking into the future and we are yet again looking at an eclipse. However, we're going to be looking not particularly far into the future. As you can see here, we've gone forward to the 6th of September and we will be looking at an eclipse that will be visible from here in Ireland. We're going to be looking at a lunar eclipse, a total lunar eclipse, coming up on the 6th, 7th or 8th of September. So we're going to double check exactly when it's visible from here in Ireland and when it's going to look its best. So let's take a look at the moon here. We're here at 99.2%. There we go, 99.9%. Of course, a perfect total lunar eclipse will occur when the moon is 100% full. So we should start seeing it here if it doesn't get covered by trees or buildings or anything like that. The total lunar eclipse, there we go. So early in the night of the 7th, and it looks like we're not going to see all of this total lunar eclipse. But the lunar eclipse will look particularly nice as the moon is rising. So this is a total lunar eclipse. We can see it growing as we move back towards the rising of the moon there. This total lunar eclipse is paired with, it's adjacent to a partial solar eclipse that is also coming up in September. However, that one won't be visible for us here in Ireland. It looks like, yeah, so we're not getting to see the beginning of the eclipse. We're only getting to see the end of the eclipse here. So that means this would look slightly better from somewhere slightly further to the east, where we'd be able to see the moon a little bit higher. So let's take a little bit of a jump. Let's hop a little bit further east. We'll hop back into Europe here. We'll go a little bit lower down as well. And let's see what we can see. So we're still seeing the moon rising at the peak of the eclipse, but we are seeing pretty much the total lunar eclipse here. We are seeing the totality, the peak of the lunar eclipse as the moon is rising. So we can see this red moon, this blood moon here, is visible with the orange yellow glow of sunset. It is completely eclipsed. It is completely a blood moon. If we get rid of the atmosphere, we'll be able to see that even easier, looking pretty dark and a little reddish as a blood moon should. But it looks like from slightly further east in Europe, the moon won't be particularly high when it's at the peak of its eclipse. So we're going to move a little further, much further into Eastern Europe. Where is the moon? There it is, nice and high in the sky. So this is giving us a much better view of the lunar eclipse. So we're seeing it begin here as the moon is rising, which is good enough. Seeing the eclipse beginning as the moon is rising is pretty good. The sky is reasonably dark once we reach the darkest part of the eclipse. We can see that part of the moon there truly looks dark. We're still seeing a lot of reddish color around the bottom portion of the moon there, the southern portion of the moon. And if we keep moving through time, then we'll see the eclipse completely coming to an end. So again, we don't get to see the entirety of the solar eclipse from this position, but we do get to see half of it. We do get to see from its peak, from its totality, all the way through to the eclipse ending. So we're going to go significantly further, all the way through to here. So we can see it getting listed as Eastern Europe or Central Asia. Of course, different labels get put on this region of the world. Different people have different opinions as to what exactly it should count as. We'll move back. We can see the entirety of the end of the eclipse. We can see the moon reaching its darkest, being completely eclipsed. And we can see the beginning of the eclipse. In fact, there we go, the entire lunar eclipse. So this is a total lunar eclipse, and I hope I've demonstrated now that it is a total. We just don't get to see all of its totality from here in Ireland. It looks like this position, 50 degrees behind all of these letters here, 50 degrees and 50 degrees, 50 degrees north and 50 degrees east by the looks of it, gives us a chance to see the entirety of this lunar eclipse. So we'll go through it again from its very beginning. We can see the umbra and penumbra coming on, so we can see there's slightly different colors here in this shadow. We can see the moon being totally eclipsed, reaching that dull reddish color, and then the shadow of the moon, or the shadow of the earth, moving off the moon, and there we go. So you might be able to see the this view of the moon here. We're seeing a little bit of the umbra, the actual shadow of the Earth, and the rest of the moon is in penumbra. As we move back, you might be able to see that kind of faint line there moving across the moon. That's the Earth's penumbra. So here, the moon is completely unobscured, none of the Earth's shadow, it's perfectly full, and I do believe, yeah, it's pretty close to the Earth. It's not too far from the closest it's going to reach. So this could be called a supermoon, depending on your definition. It is pretty close to the Earth. You know, out of 350,000 kilometers, it's at 365,000 kilometers and change, of course. The eclipse at its absolute totality is going to look great, and a little bit before and after, when we get that kind of reddish color and the hint of kind of bluish color along the edge of the umbra, those are some of the best times to see the eclipse, to photograph the eclipse. And of course, even though we're not seeing it as perfectly, we're not seeing it in its entirety from here in Ireland, we are still getting to see a reasonable portion of this eclipse. But for this lunar eclipse in particular, it's going to be important to try and catch the moon as it rises. So we can see it being partly red and partly blue there, and the umbra moving off the moon, and then the penumbra moving off the moon. So we do get to see a reasonable portion of this total lunar eclipse. Unfortunately, we don't get to see the total lunar eclipse when it's at its totality, but large portions of the Earth will. Large portions of Europe, Eastern Europe, Central Asia, whatever terminology you prefer, will get to see this eclipse at its maximum. The upcoming partial solar eclipse is going to be a little bit tougher to see. So we're coming all the way down here to roughly the South Island of New Zealand. I'm really aiming for Stewart's Island, which is off the coast of the southern island of New Zealand, way down here, way down in the corner of the map, as it seems, with this kind of map projection and perspective. We're still looking at this year. We're going forward to the 21st, and there we go. Well, there's the moon. We know where the moon is in the sky. We still have the moon selected, and by moving through time here, we should be able to see... Oh, I may be a little off. Maybe I'm a day off here. There we go. So it looks like we're looking, yes, the morning of the 22nd. We should get up to 80% obscuration on the sun here. That was the number that I had seen. So we just barely got the moon crossing onto the sun there. Here we go. So if you are... That is pretty nice. It's got this nice kind of curved shape, these horns in the sky. So we'll pause time to stop it drifting around. And we don't, there we go, obscuration 73%, so not the 80% that I was expecting, but 73% still pretty good. This isn't as obscured as Ireland will get to see the total solar eclipse on August 12th. So even though we don't get to see the totality of the total solar eclipse on August 12th, we'll see more obscuration than this partial solar eclipse is giving at its absolute best location. And the solar eclipse is going to be visible over a portion of the world. Let's see if I can get another portion of the world where it's visible here as an eclipse, as a partial eclipse. So here we go. So we can see a reasonable chunk of the sun being taken away if you're viewing it from Antarctica. And I do believe that once we come around to about here, a little off the coast of Australia, I don't know if there will be any eclipse at all. There may be a little, just barely, just as the sun is going down, the moon makes contact. So really this eclipse is for people on the southern island of New Zealand. It's going to be very difficult to see any amount of obscuration from anywhere else. We'll check from the northern island of New Zealand as well. Little bit, there is a little bit of obscuration there. In fact, not a terrible amount there at 62%. So this is the next solar eclipse. It's only a partial solar eclipse, but this is the very next one. We won't be able to see it from here in Ireland. Hardly anyone will get to see it. However, we do have a very nice total solar eclipse that we will get to see some of once we're through to 2026, August 12th. But there is also this lunar eclipse coming up. So we can see the moon there is close to the sun, but not close enough to block it out, not close enough to cause an eclipse for us here in Ireland. We'll move back to the 7th. Of course, I may have to change the date again as we go through to nighttime, and we want to catch the moon as it's rising because that's when we get most of the eclipse from here in Ireland. course, that puts us at sunset on the 7th. There we go. So we are getting a total lunar eclipse on the 7th of September. Unfortunately, it won't be a total lunar eclipse from here in Ireland. This lunar eclipse is sort of paired with, it's in the same eclipse season as the solar eclipse that's coming up on September 21st, but very, very few of us will get to see that. So I hope you get to see some of them. I hope you at least get to see this one. If you're in Europe, there's a very good chance you'll see at least a little bit of a lunar eclipse in early September. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do like it, and if you like this kind of content, then please subscribe to this YouTube channel. You can also check out my website, queevinscontent.ie, where you'll find this information written down. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you back here next time.